Today, the DOGE subcommittee, that is a real thing, led by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, announced that they will be launching an investigation into PBS and NPR over systemically biased content produced on behalf of or with federally, federal funds. Okay, so PBS and NPR do receive a portion of their funding from the federal government. They are partly publicly funded. That's why it's called the public broadcasting company or broadcasting station.
No, I think it's corporation, believe it or not.
Oh, interesting.
Because this is a little known thing, but a lot of organizations are technically corporations. Like even schools are corporations.
Right.
That is why the founding fathers said corporations are necessary evil, but don't let them get any power. Because yeah, we get it. In order to have the ACLU and schools, you need corporations structure, right? But they will accumulate money and power and end our democracy. And they were totally right.
Okay, so look, I get that they receive some public funding, but the press is the press. Having the government drop a hammer on them because they don't like the way they report or what they report seems, bad. Like it seems unconstitutional. But let me give you all the details of the story. So NPR and PBS have repeatedly, according to this Committee on Oversight and Government Reform and their press release on it, NPR and PBS have repeatedly undermined public trust by ignoring stories that were damaging to the Biden administration, dismissing genuine calls for balanced reporting, and pushing partisan coverage. As stewards of tax dollars, NPR and PBS have an obligation to provide objective and accurate coverage that serves all Americans. If you are concerned about how public money is being used toward media organizations that aren't being fair in their coverage, you could bring back, a more modern version of the fairness doctrine and apply it to news organizations that receive public funds. The fairness doctrine ensured that both sides of an argument received equal time. And Reagan was the one who repealed it. A Republican repealed that. Back in the day, it applied to any media organization that had the rights to public airwaves. But in this case, if it's public money that you're concerned about, you can have certain, terms as part of a new fairness doctrine that applies, but they would never do that. This is more politically motivated to make a point about NPR and PBS. Now, Greene requested the two CEOs of both media organizations appear for a public hearing during the week of March 3rd or March 24th to explain why federal dollars should continue funding, in her words, chronically biased reporting. In the release, they also added that in April of 2024, longtime NPR senior business editor Yuri Berliner penned an op-ed criticizing the organization for only serving a liberal-leaning audience and for failing to properly report major news stories, including Hunter Biden's laptop, COVID-19 origins, and the Russian collusion hoax. Similarly, in an attempt to appease its one-sided audience, PBS also failed to provide Americans with accurate reporting by incorrectly implying that Elon Musk made a fascist salute during President Trump's inauguration celebration. Considering NPR and PBS both spend hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government each year, this blatant political reporting should no longer be tolerated. So how much money is going to these media organizations? Well, according to Politico, federal funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, you're right, Cenk, totals around $535 million. Breaking that number down further, according to NPR, the broadcasting organization receives about 1% of its annual budget directly from the federal government. Its member stations on average get 10% of their funds from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which stewards congressional money. PBS says that 16% of its budget comes from the government. So apparently PBS relies on the federal government more than NPR does. NPR relies, 1% of their funding comes from the federal government. Honestly, if I were NPR, they're always brought up, I would just reject the money. So you don't get caught up in this, but they probably won't.
So I have some clear and some nuanced thoughts on this. First of all, just to be clear, the actual name is Public Broadcasting Service, just so you know.
There we go, okay.
Yes, but it is the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Okay, now on to important stuff. I'm going to get to the right way to do this, and if you're thinking, wait, is there a right way to do this? I think there is, and I'll tell you why in a sec. But here's what's not right, canceling NPR and PBS. You know what that would be? That would be cancel culture. So when you get into government and you go, okay, now I didn't like these news organizations because they were saying things that I didn't like from a political perspective, why don't I just end them? You can't really say you're against cancel culture. You could just say, I'm against cancel culture when it's convenient, when it's people that are getting canceled that I like, but I don't mind canceling things I don't like. Okay, so let's just be clear about that. And you can't be like, freedom of speech, freedom is our #1 issue. That's why we're gonna shut down all these media outlets that are saying things against Trump. Again, not really a freedom point of view there. Okay, now, so why do I say that there could be a right way to do it? Because, look, I got my own issues with NPR. I watched PBS last, right? And every time I watch PBS, it's been pretty good. And accurate is what I care about. I don't care about any kind of framing or, well, I do care about the framing. I don't care about any opinion that might be put out there by an expert or pundit or anything like that. But they've been relatively fair from what I've seen, but I haven't seen that much. The NPR, on the other hand, loves corporate Democrats.
They do.
And so every time Bernie runs, they go with every MSNBC talking point. Bernie's bad. I'm like, wait, I thought you guys were supposed to be objective or neutral or something. Neutral's the wrong standard, but even that standard is not applied to Bernie or progressives or outsiders. NPR, for all their on the folk music, hasn't supported an outsider in a million years, almost as long as I've been alive. So
you're right, there's definitely a corporate Democrat bias. Oftentimes when it comes to a contentious political issue where you have two sides at war with each other, they do a really bad job giving you the details, like fairly covering the details and the argument from the right. You might still disagree with what the right wing is doing, but you should know what the argument is. You should know what the rationale is. And so I've noticed that problem as well. In regard to PBS, I actually watch a lot of Frontline. Frontline is the documentary series that PBS does, and I think it's freaking fantastic. My favorite was back in the 2008 economic collapse. They did some of the best reporting on that collapse, really taking the big bankers to task, and they're continuing on with that documentary series. So, I'm sure that there are some examples you can provide with PBS, but I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is specifically targeting PBS because it receives public funding. That's it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I get the logic of, wait, this has got public funding, so it's a little bit different than shutting down MSNBC, right? Okay, but let's address that. So I said there's a right way to do it. So if I was on Bernie's team and I saw that NPR, torpedoed us while pretending to be objective, I would then go and say, okay, let's find those specific instances. And then let's do a hearing about it. Let's have a national conversation about it. And then let's say, okay, are they truly being objective? Or can we get them back on a path of being objective? And being objective doesn't mean that you then have to be pro-Bernie. Being objective just means being fair, right? Whether Bernie does something right or wrong, or Biden or corporate Democrat does something right or wrong, or even the Republicans do something right or wrong. You're supposed to, objective just means objective. You're not supposed to take politics into account. So I would look for that kind of accountability, and I might change leadership to try to drive in that direction, but I wouldn't cancel all of NPR. I get that there's tons of people who love NPR. I'm not among them. I've never liked NPR. And so culturally, I know that grates on some left-wingers' nerves that I don't like NPR. But banjo music's not for me, and I've never found it cute.
They're not.
I know. I'm playing around.
Music.
They do a lot of banjo music, and that's their way of appearing to be folk, in favor of folks and populists and stuff, and then they'll come back. And now remember, we're sponsored by Johnson & Johnson, and pharmaceutical companies are great. And Bernie, who's trying to give you universal health care, boo! So I've seen them be, look here guys, I have personal experience, last thing. I went on NPR a long time ago during one of these Bernie primary fights, and I said something against Nancy Pelosi. And it turns out they can raise the volume of their voice on NPR if you criticize Nancy Pelosi. I've never seen a host so outraged, right? Like say, oh, what are you saying about the master legislator? And then the callers, livid. Why are you allowing this guy on, right? Now, why are the callers saying that? Because the hosts on NPR have been feeding them, corporate Democrats are great for 20, 30 years straight. So it's not like there aren't issues to work out there, but firing everyone and canceling everyone is not the right way to go. Instead, have accountability with real facts so you can say, oh yeah, there it is, that's what they did wrong.
Yep. So look, there's more to this story other than having the CEOs of these two media organizations testify before Congress, because while this fight over public broadcast funding isn't new, this is the latest set of attacks that Republicans have lodged against free news services. On Friday, by the way, Trump's FCC chair also ordered an investigation into PBS and NPR. He says, I am concerned that NPR and PBS broadcasts could be violating federal law by airing commercials. In particular, it is possible that NPR and PBS member stations are broadcasting underwriting announcements that cross the line into prohibited commercial advertisements. So according to the Washington Post, an underwriting announcement is an acknowledgement by broadcasting stations of who their sponsors are. They add that under FCC guidelines, a station can share a sponsor's name, a general description of what they do and where they're located. Unlike a typical commercial ad spot, these announcements are supposed to stop short of a call to action, like telling or trying to entice audiences to buy a product or a service. And the Trump administration has also removed NPR's dedicated office space at the Pentagon, along with the New York Times, NBC News, and Politico. They will be replaced with other news organizations, namely Breitbart will replace NPR, OAN will replace NBC, and the New York Post would replace the New York Times. Huffington Post would replace Politico.
Okay, well, Huffington Post replaces Politico, so that's one on the left. But look, if all they're doing is bringing in more right-wing outlets, that's not that interesting. So you just want like a cheering section at the White House. It's not really freedom again of press and open conversation and all the things that MAGA says that they're in favor of. So on the other hand, yes, I've heard rumblings of other left-wing networks potentially getting press passes at the White House, and that could be very interesting.
Well, I have to say, like, we're specifically talking about, dedicated office space at the Pentagon, right? Mm-hmm. That's where the news organizations are being switched around. I don't know if the New York Times having dedicated office space at the Pentagon has been good for the kind of reporting they've done on war-related issues.
Actually, now that you say that, yeah, because remember, guys, they're not ending access for New York Times. They're just taking away the office space.
Right.
So, and this one, Anna's of course right. It's about the Pentagon, but I'm worried that if the right-wing media gets in there, that the same thing's going to happen to them, and they're going to come out. They're going to go in. Some of MAGA wants to cut the Pentagon, right?
Right.
They're going to go in wanting to cut. They're going to come out and go, oh, we need it all. Oh, we love this. We got to double it.
That's not a bad point.
I mean, that's what happened to the New York Times. Let's keep it real. I mean, they got embedded, and I don't mean just New York Times, mainstream media got embedded with the government so much that they forgot they're supposed to question the government.
Yeah, and by the way, think about it. If you're a journalist, it's like a big deal if you get a scoop. Ooh, it's my scoop, right? But usually a scoop is a government official or a member of the intelligence community who wants to control the narrative, and they leak something to a reporter, and the reporter just like regurgitates it. That's what the scoop is.
100%. And I'll tell you who is definitely at fault there. That is the publishers and the editors.
Yeah.
Because they reward it. They go, oh, you got a scoop, that's great. Let's just run it like idiots. Oh, that's a talking point for a government official? Oh, I'm an editor at the New York Times, I didn't know that, right? Yep. We got a scoop, we're gonna be first, we're gonna get more clicks. Oh, you're so amazing.
I mean, that's what got us into the 2003 Iraq invasion.
Yeah, a scoop is not a government official telling you something.
Right.
A scoop is when you disprove a government official.
When you investigate a story. Right. And you uncover malfeasance, you uncover abuse, that kind of stuff.
When a government official gives you a leak or some talking point that they want and you run it, that's just marketing. That's not reporting. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships.
You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.